Greetings, my friends. It's day 40, and I wanted to say I have something to say around what I just actually lectured involuntarily, like a friend of mine that who works in a health food shop, and I just got some garlic and turmeric and ginger to make this knockout drinks together with a bit of raw honey and what else goes in it, I think like cayenne pepper. And he had become a raw foodist like 2 days ago, and he was kind of commenting because I said, oh, I love raw food too, and so we kind of clapped hands. I think it was a bit like an encouraging thing for him to do. Anyway, so he looks at my shopping, and there's like obviously all the ginger and the garlic and the turmeric, the fresh turmeric, but there's also like hummus cooked from cooked chickpeas. And what else did I get? Some tofu. And then he's kind of going, but that's not raw. Yeah, like, you know, with his shaming voice already revealing the self-shaming underneath that probably drove him to make this, like, you know, oh, you know, 1 second to another, now he's a raw foodist, and probably, like, you know, the momentum that is driving him into that decision is, I could imagine, less likely to be sponsored by kind of an organic process that, you know, is fueled from self-love and just naturally gravitating towards it, and more something from a, I have to improve myself, I have to look better, I have to kind of lose weight, I have to be, like, you know, in compliance with all these like spiritual principles and be obedient, like, otherwise, like, you know, the spiritual community is not going to accept me, you know, like, and I can't accept myself anyway, and this kind of like stuff. And I have been there, and I have done this to the excess, and I think it's one of the most hideous, insidious energies that is infiltrating the human psyche, and it doesn't matter where you're gonna go. You find it everywhere, but it's very prominent in the spiritual community, very prominent, and it's hiding there. It's like, you know, the spiritual ego, like inflated to massive proportions. And I must say, like, I think 5 years ago, I was like doing this raw food experiment, I think for maybe like 10 months or something, almost a year. And I was extremely militant around it, and extremely lecturing everyone, and, you know, constantly hinting how, like, inferior everyone else was with their eating habits, you know, if they wouldn't be like raw like I was, you know, the enlightened guru of the all kind of like all spiritual consciousness front lines, so this kind of stuff. So anyway, so I was hanging around a lot in the raw food communities, and I must say, I mean, like, from all the miserable people that are hanging around on this planet, I've met some of the most miserable ones in the raw food community, and that really gave me something to think. You know, like that obviously it's not just enough, you know, to detoxify yourself on a so-called physical level, but the emotional toxicity that certain people carry around, and you know, up their spiritual asses, like, you know, up to their eyeballs, you know, like, that it was just and the mental superiority programming, of course, disguising the inferiority programming that's hiding right underneath it. So all that kind of stuff, you know, it's like, you know, it's just health, you know, is on all levels, and I think it's not even like, you know, I've seen some of the most happy people, you know, eating junk and occasional junk, and sometimes, like, you know, they kind of like, you know, they like it, you know, and until they're ready or not, you know, it's none of my business. And I think a lot of that shaming that goes on in the spiritual communities is just like so off-putting, you know, it's like shaming others for like not being in so-called alignment with, like, you know, what's you know, what you supposedly like need to do in order to be like an enlightened bullshit. It's bullshit. So yeah, I was having a little bit of a lecturing round. I mean, I hope it wasn't getting too patronizing, but he listened and he actually said, I think you're right, he said, Mona. I was like, of course I'm right, you know. It's not that it makes me happy to be right, but in that instant, yeah, it was a bit like, I think it felt appropriate to say something, because especially that I see this particular guy, I always see him swinging back and forth, you know, and then the way how he comments on him picking out, as he calls it, like, it's just like so telling that the main issue is really not the food that he eats. It's like, you know, what he's kind of eating away with comforting himself. So then I'm gonna see you tomorrow. It's 555-557. Okay, goodbye.